Before everyone starts a podcast, I think in Ghana here or any vlog, they go like, "Hello, everyone. My name is ABC, etc." I find that to be a cliche without trying to use that. So my name is Black Coffee, famously known on Facebook as Black Coffee. I'm an entrepreneur. I think born into entrepreneurship. And for this vlog or podcast, I think I had the idea just this morning that you've done this for about 10 years. You've been in this entrepreneurship game for about 10 years. There's a lot you have learned. There's a lot you've experienced. There's a lot you have been through, the highs and the lows. So why don't you just start something to just talk about your personal journey? This is not a motivational podcast. This is not a master class. This is not something that probably you'll find an inspiration in one or two ways or the other, but it is not something that is supposed to be the traditional, let them do entrepreneurship, etc. I think for today, being the first one, I want to talk about how I got into this entrepreneurship journey. And I think I've always had a knack for doing something on my own. And I remember as far back as when I was in class 5, I remember any pocket money that was given to me, I would use it to buy some of these Marvel comics, and then I rent it to my friends. So I rent it to you for about 2 days or 1 day, and then you pay for it. And mostly some of these, my friends were in class 5 or class 6, were using some of their pocket money or their lunch money to be able to rent and go and read. So I knew I had some form of entrepreneurship in me, the drive, etc. I didn't start off becoming an entrepreneur, I think right after university. So I attended Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Before KNUST, I had a very huge passion for anything that is the computer. I think right after secondary school, I'm not a high school person. Yes, I look fresh, but I'm bold. I completed secondary school in the year 2000. So this year will be approximately 26 years since I completed secondary school. Right after secondary school, I decided to work in an internet cafe. That was when the internet cafe boom was happening. It's not like today that you have data on your phone that you can access everything. First, you need to go into an internet cafe. You need to be subscribed to one of these. Back then, it was called Ghana Telecom. They have broadband services. And then you can get access to check your emails. And back then, cafe attendants were like demigods. I was one of them. I used to work in a cafe in Ho. And what mostly we do is we go to work around 8 a.m. because the shop has to be opened. And ideally, we're supposed to close at 5 p.m. But there are days that you travel to around 8 or 9 p.m. I remember during one of the Vals Day, that was when a lot of these e-cards online were available. We had a lot of people coming in from the Polytechnic. Back then it was Ho Polytechnic. I think now it's Ho Technical University. We will have these people coming in and then looking to send e-cards to their loved ones. So they'll come and say, "Oh, Charlie, help me. Let me send this to my girlfriend, to my boyfriend." We'll go to one of these websites. I think it was 1000 Greetings. I've forgotten it's a long time ago. We'll go to some of these websites, pick some of the best theme, put nice messages on it, and then send it to your email. So it was more like once you open your email, you get to see this person has sent you an e-card, you get to check, and then you are excited. So that was my first rodeo at entrepreneurship. So I developed a lot of passion for technology. So I said to myself, if I have to go to a university, I'm going to either do computer science or computer engineering. And I applied to K University. Unfortunately, I didn't get either computer science or computer engineering. I got materials engineering. And back then, materials engineering was more like we're the first batch of material engineering students. So you can imagine being a first batch of a course nobody knows about. A lot of people were making fun of us. They call us the tie and dye batik engineers. especially from the more known engineering courses like civil engineering, like electrical engineering, etc. But it was a good course. I wasn't part of the best top 50 because I didn't really much like the course. I didn't take that serious. So I was more like a below average student, not because I wasn't intelligent, but because I really wanted to do computer science. That was something that I had passion for. So right after the university, even during the university, most of my course mates could see that every time we did any course that was related to computer, I was so excited, and I ended up teaching them. I remember some of the first practical that we did was you had this Word document that you have to create table of contents. And I think that thing, I just took about 4 or 5 minutes to do, and I ended up teaching my colleagues. So right after school, I decided to still follow the passion of being in the tech field, because for me, I saw tech was a future, and so that was something that I was really interested in doing. So for my national service, I was posted to Steel because I did engineering. Materials engineering is basically looking at the intrinsic properties of a lot of materials, and metal was one of them. So I think national service found it prudent to take me to Steel to be able to do my national service there. Unfortunately, that also did not work out because the one who was supposed to sign our national service form refused. I don't know what happened. Myself and about 3 other colleagues, we would trek there from Monday to Friday, and then at last they told us that, hey, the man has gone on leave. It's better you guys go for reposting. I don't know what happened. Probably he was threatened that we were going to take his job or anything. I don't know what happened. So I had to go back for reposting, and then I was posted to CSR. For those of you who are in Accra and know CSR, it's behind Alliance Française, that area. So I was posted to the material department, and it was one of the quietest national service activity. There was virtually not a lot to be done there. We go in the morning, we just sit around, and then as and when in the national service, you end up running errands, etc. But the interesting thing happened when they had built a new office. So they wanted to get some of these nice clay pots that you see around. If you know Accra, or if you go around the Gimpa bypass, you get to see some of these nice flower pots. And instead of us going to buy one, they decided to use the national service people to do that, because at the materials department they had the pottery wheel or whatever it is, and there was one guy who was good at making. He was a full-time staff there. So we, the national service people, were supposed to provide labor. So what we would do is, if we're going to work in the morning, you see us in our nice shirts. Back then we dress well. I don't know about these national service people. We were really into the corporate dressing. You go there and then you change. So what do I mean? When you're going to work, you pick one of these house dresses, because, hey, you can't have this white shirt and clay mixing together. So we go there, we change, and then we ended up turning the potter's wheel, and then we're making a lot of clay. That activity went on for some time. And then I think on one occasion, I heard on the radio, I think it was one of these radio stations that we used to listen to, that Kofi Annan ICT Center was offering a course in Cisco networking. And I said, it's something I really want to do, because at that time, there were not, aside NIT and IPMC, there were not a lot of computer schools around. So I went to Kofi Annan ICT Center, I picked up the forms, and then I came back to tell my boss, that national service, boss, usually after 12, we don't do much. So I want to sign up for a course and then attend classes. He agreed, and then it started. So I went to Kofi Annan ICT Center. I did what they call the Cisco Certified Network Associate. Pretty much, it was more of a hardware thing. So we're learning about, so most of you have internet. You should know how internet comes about, where we are doing a lot of routers, switches, connection to make sure that you have the internet. And it's an external certification exam. And it was being done by the company called Cisco, which is based in the US. So yes, we went through the program. I think it was our 6 months. Wrote external certification, passed. I liked that course so much that I decided to do the follow-on course, which is the Cisco Certified Security Professional. At that time, network security was something that was coming up. So I took up Cisco Certified Security Professional. That was the next level. So if you take CCNA, for example, let's say if CCNA is like an HND, CCSP is like a first degree. And the almighty that everybody was looking out for was a CCIE. That is the top range where you only find a few Indians passing. That's more like the holy grail of anything CCNA. So I did a CCSP. I passed that. And then I started looking for a job because, of course, I finished school. I need to find a job. I finished national service. And there was no way I was going back home because I was in Accra and my parents were in O back then. So there was no way I'm going back to go. I was a hustler, so I decided to just now find a job in Accra. So I remember my friends and I will print CV. And this is a story of a lot of people who are around my age. We'll print our CVs. We'll walk around the entire Accra distributing the CVs. 90% of these CVs ended up in the trash. I know the front desk people will be angry, but hey, this is what you guys do. We sent a lot of unsolicited CVs, and we didn't get any response, but we love what we do. One time, I think we would pick a trotro. I used to stay at Medina Estate, so we'd drop at airport first. We'll comb the entire area of the airport. One time, we walked from airport first through all the way to North Kanishin, even to go to Tesek to go and drop CV, etc., Interplus, etc. So it was job hunting that was quite difficult. So I think it took me 2 years after school to get a job. And the job did not even come from some of the places I was expecting. So I had this friend I went to school with. I went to Mali School, of course, one of the greatest secondary schools in Ghana. You guys saw what we did for our 17th anniversary. I'm looking forward to see whichever school can beat that. So I think in one of the instances I was at home, and then a friend texted me that, hey, there's this new company that's come up. It's called Isoko, and they are looking for software testers. Software testing and Cisco were two different things. What I did is in Cisco networking. This is purely software. I thought, of course, I can do it. If it's software, I can test the software, blah, blah, blah. So she gave me high-level information. That night, I didn't sleep. I went to the internet cafe. I had to study what software testing is, looking at software development lifecycle, software testing lifecycle, all the 9 yards. This was new to me, but I was reading all this on the internet in a cafe. At that time also, we didn't have these advanced smartphones where you guys have, and then instead of using it for productive stuff, most of you are using to share ads, things like that are not really interesting. So I was in a cafe. I think I went home around 1 a.m., slept, woke up at 5 a.m., picked the trotro from Medina Estate. At that time, Isoko was at busy internet at Circle. If you know Circle very well, they call it Equip. So I got there, and I thought it was going to be a one-on-one interview, not knowing my incoming boss, Mr. Sari, had lined up the entire team to interview me. So it was one against about 6 or 7 of them. Trust me, it was one of the most heated interviews I've ever been to. Questions were coming from all over the place, but me too, Charlie, Baba. As you go take the Baba DA for be your strong portion. So I think I was answering the question left, right, center. They asked, have you done any software testing? I said, well, yeah, I used to do on the side. So I went home. I thought, okay, this thing is 50-50. So let's see how it goes. 2 days later, I got an email that I got a job offer to be a software tester. Hooray. I went into the software testing. So I started work. I had to learn, and the team, they were very helpful. Eugenia, Isaacs, Sika, etc. Really, really, really took me through what software testing is. And Mr. Sari, my boss, who speaks Chi with a UK accent, so he was really instrumental. I learned the software testing. So, and for what software testers are, we are mostly software testers who sit between software developers and you putting out the software. And software engineers hate our guts because it's like criticizing the work they've done. And back then, software engineers felt untouchable. Even now, they feel they are so superior. So they write codes, we find errors, they get angry. They have to fix it anyway. And if you don't fix it, it's not going live. So we're sitting in between. So you see us more like quality control, quality assurance. I did that for about 2 years. Then I decided to change departments. I think I was looking more towards how do we write if somebody's looking to build a software, what are the processes involved? I was at a mid part, which was the testing. I decided to go toward the front part, which we call the product department. So if your product department is mainly where everything happens. So it's like you want to build a house. You've got an architect, and then the architect draw the plan for you. You describe what you want an architect. So that's how product department are. We write what we call a functional specification. And every software that's supposed to be built must have a functional specification. That's the blueprint, which button goes here, which color scheme, what are the menus, etc., etc., etc. And it's that the software developers use to build. So out of the software, we write the functional specification. The developers will pick that, and then they'll do what we call a technical specification. That's very, very detailed in terms of the language, the programming language that they want to use, etc., etc. So I moved to the product department. I was writing the shit out of, how do you call them, software, some of the documentation, writing, producing. I worked in Isoko for about 2-3 years. Then I jumped ship. I joined a different company, which was Cornet. Cornet was also a pure software development company. By that time, we were building a lot of solutions for the banks. So Mr. Michael Amankwa and the team, and trust me, at that point, Cornet was ahead of the curve in terms of what we're looking to build. Most of the solutions that we had built about 15 years ago are relevant now. Amankwa was more like a sage. He was a genius. He really knew what we're building solutions. Even if you take some of the ATMs, you go and stand by your ATM and say you want to withdraw money cardless from your mobile money. We built that. We even built some of the first tools that can allow you to send credit across platforms. So it was a big deal back then. I worked in Cornet for about 3 years. Then I moved again because for me, I think mostly I get bored after 3 years, especially when I'm working with you. I'm looking for a bigger opportunity, bigger challenge. So I moved to a company called TXT Ghana, Test Ghana, that's based in Abelinkwe. Nilai and the team at that point, also very phenomenal guy, had built a company that was really now looking at some of these emerging alternative trends, in especially, that was when social media was now coming up. So we're looking at some of this digital media aspect of it. I remember back then he had built a $1 million studio that was really way ahead of his time, looking to record a lot of content. Back then we had close to about even 30 or 40 editors who were writing editorial content to post. At that point, I think I joined the research team first, and then I moved to the product team also to be able to write some of these software. So during that time, that was when I noticed that Charlie, I was having ideas on my own. I wanted to, so I called my co-founder. Back then we were friends, Michael Okanse. We're very good friends. I met him at Isoko. I'd known him. I said, Charlie, Mike, I have this idea where I want to build a platform that will allow people to do barter trade, to do swapping. And he says, hey, okay. Initially, I wanted him to build it for me for a fee. And then the amount he mentioned, I think back then he mentioned close to about $4,000. I asked him, are you crazy? What am I going to get $4,000 for? I'll give you a share in the business. Let's split equity equally. Let's do 50-50. I give you 50%. I take 50%. We own the business. Let's build it. So I can't pay you with cash. I'll give you equity. As he said, fine, I'm game. So we built the first platform that allows people to trade without cash. It was called Swappaholics. I know some of the old heads who are listening to this will really know what I'm talking about. So we built Swappaholics. It was more like a barter trade platform that allowed people to exchange commodities. Back then, people go to PZ in Kumasi, Tiptoe Lane in Circle. They will take a phone and go swap for another phone, etc. So we decided to digitize that concept where we build a platform to help people to be able to do this. And the moment we launched that, it really, I was working then when we launched that. So it was more like a side gig. So I said, okay, fine. That was when also, now how do I take this business idea to the next level? So at that point, that was around 2015. That was when the craze for tech accelerators have started. Silicon Valley style, everybody was looking to build like Silicon Valley kind of thing. So I went online during, I think, one of the breaks, I just checked in and I saw an accelerator in Dubai called 10-8, TURN, and then the number 8. So I said, oh, this looks like something that's, so for me, I just even put an application. I said, okay, let me just use Swappaholics. I put in that And then 3-4 days later, there was an email. You've been shortlisted for an interview. I said, Radimewu. And the interview was around 12 p.m. Ghana time. You know, Dubai is about 3 or 4 hours ahead of Ghana. So, and I couldn't do that call in the office. Trust me, how do you use your office to do your private gig? So I think I called my said, Charlie, around circle. I said, Charlie, I come there. We have an interview that we have to show up. And back then it was a video interview. So they want to see the founders, talk to them, to see what they're building, etc., etc. So I quickly rushed to Busy Internet and I met Michael there. We set up, and then we went to a corner, we set up, and then we did a 30-minute interview. And they said, okay, you hear from us. So I went back to the office. 1 week later, we got an offer that we've been selected to be part of the accelerator. Wow. And they sent us the first terms. They were looking to invest about $30,000 at that time into Swappaholics. And we have to move to Dubai. Hey, wahala. How am I going to tell my employers that I have to move? And the time limit they gave us was very short. It was just about, you have to respond to this offer, and then after 2 weeks, you have to come to Dubai. I said, Jesus Christ. And based on my work contract, I needed to give my employees at least 1 month notice. Or you do something called in lieu, you pay them and then you leave. I confess, that time I had a small car I was using. And the terms of the accelerator is they only give you the money after you've come to Dubai. So you have to finance the flight costs, finance everything. So that's Charlie. I called Mike, Mike, your mind day. They say Dubai, we don't know anybody for there. Where to go? I say, Charlie, me, I'm a freelancer. Me, I've been doing freelance all my life. So if you say jump, I would say how high. So we put in. And I didn't put in my letter of resignation because I needed 1 month. So what happened was I sold my car, and then Mike also sold a few things. And then I bought my plane ticket. I had to leave money in the house because back then I was married. Then I have to leave money in the house so that at least I can take care of about 3-4 weeks before the accelerator money came. So we sold it, and Mike and I, we went to Ethiopian Airlines. We bought our tickets. So now come the time where I have to leave. And then I had some official company properties with me, like the laptop, a phone they had given me. I said, how do I return this in? So I had a friend called Emilia. I told her, Charlie, Emilia, this is what happened. And she used to stay close to me. I said, Charlie, let me give you that. Me, I ran away. Let me give you the stuff. Go and submit to them. Wait for about a month and then submit to them when I'm gone. And then I think she did that. And I think they were not really happy. So apologies for that. I think that time the HR was Nanama, if I remember the name right. Nanama is because Charlie, some big camel, so then I for run. But I'm sure today you understand. My boss Eric was also quite furious with me because at that time I think I was due for promotion. I was going to be made a head of something, and I think I just pounced. I would advise most entrepreneurs now to do that. I think if you want to exit, you exit gracefully. I think I met Nii recently. We are still in good terms, so I didn't burn the bridges. So that day came, Kotoka, we flew out straight to Dubai. Charlie, we didn't know anybody. We landed. We had a friend, Frederick, who I got connected to through a friend on Facebook. So Frederick was the first person who helped us be able to get accommodation. I'll show you that the type of accommodation that is in this video. Trust me, is if you know Dubai very well, is what they call the bed space. It's like you being in a secondary school where your dormitory has been partitioned into about 1,000 pieces and only 2 people can stay in one bed space. And unfortunately, the place we got, it was not close to the window. So you don't know whether it's day or it's night. So your light always has to be on. If you put it off, you don't know. And we were sharing that floor with a lot of experts from India, Pakistan, other places, Nigeria, etc. So, and the bathroom were about 2. So you have to wake up early to bath because if you wait for around 6 a.m., the traffic there is going to be crazy. So, and we had to be at the accelerator by 8. So we moved to Dubai, we settled in, and that became how my entrepreneurship journey started. So for today, this is just the tip of the iceberg, how I moved from corporate into this thing we call madness. And I think in a subsequent episode, we are going to talk more about, I'm going to tell you more about how this journey has been, the highs, the lows, the crazy things we've done, the madness, the method in the madness, and everything. And this will serve as more like a guiding point for some of these young people who are looking to come and be my own boss kind of thing. I think after this, you want to learn whether you want to be your own boss or you want somebody to be your boss. But it's been fun engaging you. I'll catch you on the next episode. Stay safe out there and be good.